Hello everyone, this is Mr. Phelps, and we're going to do this example here. Notice this time I'm dividing, so we need to remember to flip the second fraction over and convert it to a multiplication problem is the easiest way to deal with it. So rather than rewriting the entire problem with this flipped over, what I'm going to do is, as I'm factoring, I'm going to flip it over. It's just a little shortcut to save me some writing. If it's more comfortable to rewrite the problem with these two flipped first and changing it to multiplication and then factor, that's fine, but I'm just saving a little time. All right, so let's start with the x cubed plus 1. That's a sum of cubes, so you should know how to factor that. That's an x plus 1, and then an x squared minus 1x plus a 1. Denominator, x squared minus x minus 2. This one here, that's a pretty easy x minus 2 times an x plus 1. Now remember, I'm multiplying and flipping, so I'm being careful here. So I'm going to put this factored on the top, and that's an x minus 2 times an x minus 2. And then this one here I'm going to put on the bottom. That one's not factorable. It's pretty easy to see that it's not. The only way to get that plus 1 would be x minus 1, x minus 1, but that would give me a 2x middle term, a negative 2x middle term. And so that one is not factorable. And oh, by the way, I kind of expected that it wasn't factorable because I noticed that that was already a factor on the top. So not to say you should use that to help, but sometimes you can use that to help. If you see a factor in the top, there's a decent chance that it may show up in the bottom, because usually these problems are designed so that a bunch of stuff cancels out. So sometimes you can use that a little bit to help you with your factoring. Okay, now let's go ahead and look for stuff to cancel. So obviously that x squared minus x plus 1 term, those will cancel those factors. I see an x plus 1 on the top, an x plus 1 on the bottom. I see an x minus 2 on the bottom with one of those x minus 2's on the top. And so, wow, that was satisfying. Lots of stuff canceled. I end up with x minus 2 on the top and just a 1 on the bottom. Remember, all those cancelings are really just 1s, because x plus 1 divided by x plus 1 is just 1. All of those cancelings are really 1s. But of course, if we're writing this in the simplest form possible, x minus 2 divided by 1 is simply x minus 2. And so that entire big ugly thing that we started with is actually equal to x minus 2. And so if we needed to evaluate those expressions, you could plug them into this mess and evaluate all of that, or you could just subtract 2. And that's all for now. Thanks.